Good morning. Welcome back to Long Dogs and Firewood Logs. It's been a crazy week. Monday afternoon we hit 100, and for central Minnesota, that's a hot day, especially with a lot of humidity. I think the dew point was up in the 70s, and then the dew point went higher. Just super humid. But today's Saturday. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's a lot cooler. I think it's 62 degrees right now. Probably warm up to 70 around 1 o'clock. So that'll be a little more seasonable. Today, I'm going to do a little demonstration on something I've learned the last couple weeks. I've had some rounds off the base of a big oak tree, and they're over 20 inches in diameter. Pretty heavy. It's gotten to the point where I couldn't lift them to put them in a wheelbarrow to wheel them out. So a couple weeks ago, I started out with these huge rounds. They're about 20 some inches. As we get further up there, I think we're about 22, 24 inches across, but they're quite heavy. I thought about splitting them manually, but I was having a hard time getting a good start on a wedge. So, nice big heavy metal wedge. Started them with an X pattern with the chainsaw. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but got it kind of split down a couple inches, but it puts out a real fine dust when you're cutting this way into the round. 12-pound sledgehammer, and then pounding down in. Takes a lot of work. And it's not quite wanting to go yet. I've got a maul back in the truck, and here's the head off of an old maul. See if we can't drop this down in there with it. And that might be enough, probably not. That was enough to knock this one loose. And that was one of the easier ones. So, after a lot of sweat, a little bit of blood, a lot of fatigue, I decided to go online and see if I could find a better solution. So I hit up a couple of the Firewood groups that I'm in, and showed a picture actually of this very one, explained the situation, and I came up with a few really nice answers. Actually, several people had the same answer, and I'll show you what that is. So several people just said, why not just roll it up to the log lift splitter? Well, I'm 55 yards out in the woods. They're not my woods. I'm basically just following the paths of the trees that are down and making my way back to where the rounds are. Other comments, just roll them out to the splitter. Well, it's 55 yards, and that's a long ways to roll a heavy round. I'd rather put it in the wheelbarrow and make the job a lot easier. Other comments, scoop it up with a bucket on the tractor. A, my tractor doesn't have a bucket. 2, it's 20 miles away from here. So getting the tractor up here onto somebody else's property, back in the woods along a 5-foot wide path, just not an option. So breaking them down into smaller pieces that you can load without breaking your back, straining something, injuring yourself, makes a lot of sense. So that's where we're heading next. Okay, I've got my chaps on, good Kevlar protection, hearing protection, facial protection. Got the chainsaw back here, and I'll show you the easy way to do this. So here's what's coming off of that. I don't know if you can see these shavings, but they're not your typical chainsaw little chunks. It's a lot longer and stringier. They look a little bit like noodles. And so a lot of people call this noodling down a log, because you're forming all this noodle-like shavings. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of these right through here, so it's easier to get them out. So a lot of the guys recommended just lay it bark side down, or in this case what used to be bark side. And then cut this way. Still 45, 50 pounds. I don't know if you can see all the shavings. It makes for a lot of noodles, but I hear they're good in a smoker. It'd probably be good for a fire starter too. out of gas. It's warm out here. I don't think it's the temperature, just me. So, time for me to rehydrate, fill up the tank on the bar oil and the fuel of the chainsaw, and then we'll finish this round off. Well, I got some bar oil and fuel back in the steel MS311, cutting with a 20-inch bar, and chain's still pretty sharp. I put a quarter turn on to tighten it up a little bit, but we should be ready to go after the last bit. I've got this one round right down here. Got to split him in half, noodle him up, and then there's another one right over here. We'll lay it on its side and we'll take it out too. There's a crotch piece on down there that I was going to leave in the woods, but I might be able to noodle that too. We'll see how I feel. This is the piece that was on the very bottom of the log, and this is all just dirt that I'm brushing off of here. I got enough off so I could keep my chain out of the dirt so as not to dull it. Maybe if we get some rain before I haul these out of here, that'll wash that dirt off a bit. Either way, I can always scrape it off with a splitter or an axe when I get back to the wood yard, the main wood yard. So one more piece to carry out, and then I got another log to buck up. So I've moved up in front of the hay barn a bit, and a bit to the west, and this is a tree that fell down in a storm a couple weeks ago. It was a standing dead one just like these, but it blew over right into a flower bed closer to the house, so I want to finish bucking him up, maybe noodle a few of those. And there it is, coming into view. So we'll buck him up and maybe noodle a few of those if we've got time. "16-inch stick, sidewalk chalk." Looks like I can get 6. That looks like I can get 6 big rounds and maybe 3 or 4 smaller ones off of what's left on the log here. I must have dulled the chain a bit. Time to swap out, put a sharp, fresh chain on.